Ever notice how getting older means more than just a few gray hairs? Even Spider-Man and Deadpool are starting to feel it, and after years of hanging up their spandex, they are now more familiar with reading glasses and senior discounts. But nostalgia and an aching back don't keep them down. They decide to squeeze back into their old suits and give heroing another try. Because no matter how many naps they may need, they just can't resist the call to save the day. Unless it's to save a good spot on the couch, that is. But anyways, let's take it back to how these two became heroes again. We start off in a distant future. Peter Parker has become old and spends his time taking photos of things like leaves, as well as remembering his good old days as Spider-Man. However, he's not alone, as his pal Wade lives with him in community care homes. However, when Peter is taking a photo, he manages to get a burglar in it, who is heading into the care homes. Peter then looks at his Spider-Man memorabilia on the wall and decides to stop him. So he sticks to the wall in his wheelchair somehow and stops the burglar from doing any harm by giving him some combos and a headbutt that somehow didn't break his skull. It was at that moment that Peter felt amazing again. Peter decides to be Spider-Man one last time, with Wade joining him as Deadpool. In a dream, when Wade and Peter were younger, Peter managed to get fatally injured by an alternate Deadpool. Wade wakes up from his dream, screaming at the top of his lungs. So in fear of losing Peter, Wade transfers some of his blood to him, so Peter has a harder time dying, thus making him live longer. This wasn't the first time Wade transferred his blood, as back when Peter first got fatally injured, he transferred blood to young Peter to keep him alive without him knowing. With Wade saying to Ben Grimm, he will tell him eventually. Peter then wakes up and asks what he missed. Wade deflects the question by saying nothing. Peter then makes a comment about how his wrist feels funny. Later on, the two roam New York City, acting like they are doing superhero stuff, like going to the docks, the sewers, climbing buildings, rowing boats, and grabbing hot dogs. They end up on top of a roof, and Peter notices they are near Queens, so he wants to go pay his respects. They get to a cemetery, and Peter looks around at his dead family. All of this doesn't make sense to him, and asks Wade how did he live for so long, and Wade simply says that it's a mystery. On their way home, they end up in a fight against an army of robotic Deadpools. It gets so bad that they have to run as fast as they can and head up a giant thing, literally. Luckily, the Fantastic Four that consisted of Last Devil, Valeria Doom, Venom Vision, and the Big Thing showed up to help. In the process of taking down the robots, Peter actually gets fatally injured by a Deadpool robot, which infuriates Wade. Valeria grabs Peter, and then they retreat onto the Thing's hand, and then the Thing throws them to the Baxter building. Peter in Wade's arms tells him that he figured out he was getting his blood, and then forgives him for causing him so much pain, and dies off. Wade refuses to accept his death, so he goes to Doom's old time platform. He uses it in the hope of seeing Peter again, which sends him back to a time when both Peter and Deadpool are still alive and young. That concludes this story, so be sure to subscribe and like this video to see more moments where superheroes become old.